There we go. My name's Laura. I'll be handling the technical side of things tonight. So before I introduce Cynthia, I'll just let you know about a couple of technical items. One thing is, if you have any problems during the webinar in terms of, I don't know, audio or connection, then try sending me a message and I'll see if I can help. You can use the chat button to send a message. We will be recording the webinar, so in case you don't want to appear on the recording, which we then share on our webpage, then you can turn your video off and remain anonymous that way. During the Q&A part of the webinar, we found the easiest thing. There is quite a clever electronic way to raise your hand, so if you know how to do that, feel free. But we found the easiest way is just the old-fashioned hand wave. So just put your hand up if you'd like to speak at some point, and we'll come to you. And I think that's it. Can everyone hear okay and see okay? Everything good? Great. So in that case, I will hand you over to Cynthia. Cynthia Bampton founded the Awaken Life Project with her husband, Peter. It's based here in Portugal, but it has members and participants throughout the world and has been running for over 10 years now. So without anything else, I will hand over to Cynthia.
Okay, hi everybody. It's nice to see you. Why don't we just take a few minutes and do a short meditation. So if everybody could just sit up straight and get into a comfortable position. And close your eyes. And just take a deep breath, letting the breath come all the way down into your belly. And then relax as you exhale. And just go ahead and do that a few times. The best way to relax is to breathe. The worst way to relax is to try to relax. So just take a moment to appreciate the breathing process. And you can just start breathing naturally, but fully. Really enjoy the breath and the air coming in through your nose, enlivening your body. And as you exhale, feel all the tension that you may be carrying. Just let it release. Doesn't matter what your mind is doing. If it's busy, if it's quiet, it doesn't make any difference. Just feel the air coming into the body. And as you exhale, feel the release. So allow yourself to receive on the inhale and release on the exhale. And really bring your attention to that breathing process. And as you focus on the breath entering the body and exiting the body, become conscious that you aren't doing anything. You're not trying to make the breath. You're not resisting the breath. The breath is occurring. The breathing process is occurring. And you are aware of it. So take a moment to really become conscious of this. Feel the breath coming into the body and feel the breath release from the body. Feel how the breath itself relaxes you and soothes not only the body, but it actually does something to your being. So again, be aware that you are not doing anything. You are not creating the breath. The breath is occurring, and you are aware of it. The breathing process is occurring, and you are aware of it. So where does the breath come from? If you're not creating it, where does the breath go after it's released from the body? Isn't it wonderful to ask this question and come to the answer of I don't know? And you may be enjoying the breathing process, and you may be enjoying the awareness of that process so much that you don't need to know where it comes from and where it goes. Maybe the pure joy of breathing, of being breathed, and being aware of this mystery and the process that's arising from it maybe it's enough.
Sorry.
So continue to put your attention on the breath. And allow yourself to be curious as the child would be. Notice if you allow yourself to be curious. Notice how much more relaxed and happy you are when the need to know is replaced by the joy of not knowing and the joy of being. And you can do the same thing with thought. So if your mind is very busy right now, become curious and realize, where does the thought come from? When you're done thinking the thought, where does it go? Where does a thought start? And where does it finish? What is a thought? And again, you find yourself in the same position of joyously not knowing. And again, just like the breath, you can be aware of a thought, and you can be aware that you're aware. So is the thought arising out of the same mystery as the breath? Is your body arising out of the same mystery as the thought? The joy is in the questions, because it brings you in touch with the mystery of life itself. So no matter what's arising in your experience right now, and maybe there's nothing arising, just rest in that awareness. in that recognition that everything in your experience, whether it's thought, feeling, pleasant or unpleasant, it's all arising in your awareness right now. And it's all arising from the same mystery. And you aren't doing any of it. So take a deep breath in. And exhale. And a couple more times. And allow yourself to feel, fully feel the breathing process. And as you fully feel the breathing process, allow your heart to open to the mystery and the source of that process. Right here, right now.
Hello.
Okay. Isn't it amazing how good you feel when you don't do anything? You know, we spend so much of our time trying to create the perfect experience or something, and And we really just miss what's already there. Sometimes I find the simplicity is it's just mind-blowing. And then sometimes I find the insanity of human beings and how we relate to things is equally mind-blowing if you think about it. Anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about responding. And I can't remember exactly the name of the webinar, but I think it was something like, how much do I respond to life? And responding is a very interesting thing. And sometimes people will make the distinction between responding and reacting. Reacting usually is termed as being something happens, there's a space in between, and then a reaction comes, and a response is a lot of the time spoken more about as a free-flowing movement. So sometimes people will say that reaction is more of an egoic response because there's someone in the middle of that flow. There's a separate I in the middle that blocks the flow. So something happens, it goes through the filter of the ego, and then there's an egoic reaction that comes from that. Where a response is more of the illusion of the separate I is not being imposed by the individual. And in that, the individual is allowing a pure response. So it's an interesting thing to look at. And from one perspective, even an egoic reaction is also a response. So sometimes we take these words for granted because actually, if you think about it too, avoidance is the opposite of response. Because an avoidance is a non-response in some ways, and it is a response because you're taking an action to actually avoid something. The thing about responding that is so important is because when we respond, we're actually giving space for consciousness to come through us. And that's not a small thing. And there's so often that we don't respond. And we have all sorts of reasons not to respond. But when you think about those reasons, it's usually I'm afraid, I'm angry. You know, it's usually fear and pride when it comes down to it, which are egoic tendencies. So a lack of response is a holding back of life. It's a holding back of your true nature. So for example, when we were just doing the meditation, if you were allowing yourself to be aware of the movement of the breath, allowing yourself to have childlike curiosity about what is a thought, allowing yourself to just let go of the need to have to know everything or the need to have to be somebody all the time. When you do that, usually there's a lightness of being that we experience. There's a joy. There's a kind of a wide open wonder that automatically is there, right? It's not like we create this wide open wonder. It's not like we create this curiosity. I mean, how do you actually create curiosity? Have you ever thought about it? Like, what do? Is it like, you know, you put a couple of things together in a pan and you mix it up and out pops some curiosity? I mean, how do you make curiosity? So it's the same thing. Like, how do you make breath? How do you how do you do anything? And then you have to ask yourself, well, gosh, am I actually doing anything? And what we have the capacity to do is we have the capacity to respond. Isn't that amazing? So when we actually recognize this curiosity, this wide open wonder, this joy of being alive. Okay, recognizing is one thing, but being willing to animate it through the particular body that you're in is a choice. And in that choice, you're choosing to respond. You're choosing to respond to God. You're choosing to respond to that source, that mystery. You're choosing to respond to it opposed to trying to avoid it or push it down. Okay? So this is critical. It's really critical to recognize this, because if you look in your life, I'm sure you can make a very, very long list of times you don't respond. I'm sure you can make a really long list, like something pops into your head and you're very inspired by something, and you might be in a group or you might be on a webinar and you're inspired and there's an impulse to speak, but you don't. Why? Oh, I'm afraid. I'm afraid to speak in front of people. I'm afraid that I'll say something stupid. I'm afraid that they won't like me. Okay, so all of those are egoic responses. And for some of you that are new to the webinar, the definition I use for ego is it's an illusion where you're insisting that separation is real and limitation is real. So a good example of this is something, same example I was using before. You have something that arises in you. Where does it come from? You don't know. It's just like a spontaneous arising of joy and you want to share it. But for some reason, this egoic response comes in. It's a conditioned response and it basically says no. And when you say no and you block this joy of response, you block this natural response, you see you're cutting yourself off from your own heart, but you're also cutting yourself off from the other person that might be in front of you. So you're imposing a separation. You're saying, I will not be with you. I will not share with you. I will not share my joy. I will not. And that's why it's egoic. And it's actually a very violent response to the purity of the impulse that arose within you. So you want to see it that way. Now, it doesn't mean that you're a horrible person, because these egoic conditioned, impulses are very impersonal. Everybody's got them and everybody acts out of them. There's not a single person on this webinar that doesn't act out of egoic responses or doesn't hold back love every day. So again, look in your own life and see how often you have an impulse to reach out to somebody. It's like, oh, I should call this person and just say hello. Or, oh, this person's feeling sick today. Maybe I could, do something for them. Or you walk past your dog and you don't even notice that he's there and you don't give him a pat on the head. You walk by a plant and you go, oh, I need to water that plant, but I'll do it tomorrow. So I'll let it just die today, right? So all of that is an imposition of ego. The response was there. The impulse arose into your awareness. But you see, that's an example of an impulse that arose, but there was a lack of response. Okay, and a lack of response, like I said before, a reaction can also be a response. But a lack of response is also a response. So nobody is not responding. It just depends on from where do you want to respond from. Do you want to give energy to the big no in you, the unlove in you? Or do you want to give yourself to the yes and the capacity to bring more love and light and joy into this world through your own voice, through your own being? You see, and everybody can do that. And everybody can do it all the time, daily. It's not like you have to wait for a chance to respond. Look at how many times, a response is there. It's happening hundreds and hundreds of times a day. And you just choose not to do anything. You choose because a lot of times we're just busy with our own narcissistic fascination with our own mind. We're so much more interested in that than actually responding to the impulse that's coming from the heart. So sometimes we have to make effort to respond to the impulse that's coming from the heart. But I'll tell you what happens when you do it. It's like something starts to catch fire. And not only does it catch fire in you, where maybe the little flame is flickering, but you respond and that little flickering flame becomes a little brighter. And then you keep responding. And pretty soon you might find that you have a forest fire on your hands and you can't remember what you were afraid of and why you wouldn't respond. You can't even remember who you were. You couldn't even remember all the problems you thought you had. Okay, it's like, where do they go? They get burned up in the fire of the heart, basically. So we've had a very interesting time, and there's some people that are in our Sangha, our community. This is a committed group of people, and so they meet regularly, and we have a Facebook page. And on that Facebook page, we have a page for the women, we have a page for men, and then we have a Sangha page. So recently, there's been, well, let me rephrase that. For years, I've been putting a lot of pressure on the women to share their voice with the other women. And I'll tell you, it's been really, really hard work because everybody had the excuse. First excuse is, I don't like Facebook. I'm like, it's not about Facebook. Okay, the next excuse is, I'm afraid I'll say something stupid. I said, don't worry about it. Nobody's going to kill you if you say something stupid. So every excuse was just, was just egoic and was just ridiculous. So it wasn't really like Facebook. I'm not a huge fan of Facebook, but we can turn Facebook into kind of a platform for love and consciousness instead of narcissism and, whatever else it is. But anyway, so what happened then over time, more people started to participate. And then we noticed that then we had a Sangha page, where the men and the women are together. And the men actually weren't very present on that page. It was mostly women, and sometimes the men would get on. And then we're like, where's the men? And so then recently, there's been for a lot of years, there's been a lot of pressure on the women to engage. And over time, they've dropped their egoic resistance and they've actually allowed their voices to come forward. And then what happened is some pressure was put on the men to drop their egoic resistance. And then they started participating on the page. And then what happened? So first you got the women who are already participating, right? And then the men come in and the men light the page up. The women had lit it up, then the men come in and they light it up. And then what happens is the women who were kind of not really doing their part, the light from the men were shining on those women, and then they had to step forward, and then they stepped forward, which lit it up even more, which lit up the men that weren't responding. And then one thing led to another. And then it went from writing a post to making a video. So everybody, is like, wow, yeah, the posts are fantastic. And it's like video, and everyone's like, video, are you kidding? Okay, so then what happened is everybody just said, well, gosh, I've been writing this post and I start writing it and I feel completely self-conscious, but by the time I'm finished writing it, I'm just completely ecstatic. And all I want to do is tell everybody how much I love them. So everybody recognized this. And so when it came time to do a video, people made their video. First it was the women, and the women made a video and lit up the whole page again. And then the next day, the men, so the women were meeting one day, and this happened in our meeting. And then the next day, the men had seen all these women writing on the page, and then they were completely inspired, and then they did the same thing. And so what's actually occurred through this willingness to be more interested in responding than avoiding. And it was hard. It was hard for a lot of people. They had to make effort. Some of them, you know, some people made videos and you could tell that they were completely terrified, but they did it anyway. And then as they actually recognized that something inside them started to become alive by the willingness to respond, they didn't even have to respond perfectly. It was the willingness to respond that lights the fire. It's not the response itself only, it's the willingness to respond. And everybody can give themselves to a response if you're willing, and that's a choice. So I'm telling you this story because responding is no small thing. And you have to recognize when you respond to life, the egoic habits are displaced in that moment. They don't exist. You can't find them. Maybe you recognize that in the meditation that we had earlier. You know, when you looked for a thought, well, where is it? What is the thought? You see, everything is happening in this present moment, right here, right now. Freedom has no history. Freedom is here and now. Freedom is in the response. It's in the response that you have to your own heart. It's in your willingness to give yourself. You see, and if you're willing to do that, then anything is possible. So instead of, like I was saying in the meditation, instead of that need to know, which is so small, so limited, when you let go of the need to know, then you become completely infatuated with not knowing, which means completely infatuated with the mystery of life itself. It doesn't mean you walk around all the time with some goofy look on your face, you know, like you're in bliss, la, la, la. It's not about being fake or phony. It's about being real. And real means present. Real means the willingness to respond. Willing means, you know, being real actually means being humble. It means, oh my God, you know, I don't know what to do here. I see myself reacting all the time in a certain situation. I feel rejected all the time and I lash out and I know it's not me, but I do it anyway. But you see, if there's something like that going on, you can respond to that. So nobody is stuck. You see, nobody is stuck. So when you really start looking at the spiritual process of purification, which is basically what it is, but from a place of prior freedom, which means freedom is here and now, which means nothing is in your way, you see, you have to be willing to go through the fire because the egoic habits do not survive in that willingness. And if you are used to identifying those egoic habits as being who I am, which most people do, then you have to be willing to respond and to allow that identity to burn. And sometimes it feels like it's actually, you're dying. And you are dying, but it's not you that's dying. It's the identity with the illusion. And the key word here is illusion. It's the dying to the illusion of the separate I. And it's waking up and surrendering to the fire of the heart. And in the fire of the heart, there's only one fire and there's only one heart. There is no separation. And there really is only one egoic habit also. None of us have like a special, oh, I've got a special ego. No, your ego is boring. Your ego is aggressive, just like everybody else's. So forget about the special ego situation. How can you have some, you know, it's almost like if you really recognize that ego, there's an illusion of ego, and ego is actually an illusion. It's not real because separation's not real. If you recognize that, then how can you have a special nothing that doesn't exist? You can't, right? So sometimes we just have to think through our crazy ideas. And most of the time we just accept our crazy ideas and we actually believe our crazy ideas are who we are. And then we recognize, oh my God, I'm a crazy person because I have crazy ideas. So you personalize that whole process, and then you got something to do, and then you got something to get over, and then you got lots of time to basically cut off and not respond. Because when you respond to your own passion, your own heart, you see, you have to be willing to throw the egoic beliefs of who you are on the fire. That's the way it works. It's the same for everybody. You know, and sometimes it's very difficult and challenging, and sometimes it's just very smooth and you can't believe it. It's always very simple. And it's only our resistance that makes it complex and difficult. But even if we make it complex and difficult, you see, we can just respond to that. So in the end, it's all about response. So that's really what I wanted to say tonight, because I want to get across to you what responding is and what it does, what happens when you respond within yourself and in the collective. There's, you know, the sacred comes forward. And it's surprising and it's joyous. It's beyond anything you can imagine. And you just feel kind of empty and full, happy and calm. It's just, you know, there's a wide range. There's no particular way that it makes you feel. But I can only tell you that if I look at this recent situation with our Sangha, what amazes me is what's coming out of individuals. The beauty, the poetry, the heart, the joy, the clarity from people I would never have even thought was possible. And I thought they were cool people. But, you know, when you open up to the mystery of life to speak through your own mouth, through the body, this body, you find out that who you thought you were was like so much less than who you actually are. But you won't know until you take the risk to respond and open your mouth. So that's why it's so important. And then if you do it with other people, it just, you know, it just gets better and better all the time. And what also is really interesting about this is that people who were resisting in this example that I gave, they couldn't take it anymore. They just had to surrender to what was going on. They literally couldn't take it anymore. And then when they did it, it was like amazing. Okay, so now the pressure's on because now it's time to respond. Okay. You see, so what everybody should do, because we have like, what do we have? 30, 40, 48, 42 minutes. My math isn't very good. We have 42 minutes for question and answer, or we have time for people who are actually, who have been part of this process that I described, for you to actually even share your experience. Okay? So what you don't want to do is if something's arising in you, because everybody's having a response, that's one thing everybody goes, oh, I'm not having any response. Okay, that's not true. Everybody's having some response. You might be, you know, I don't know what it is, but something's going on. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to hang up from this webinar in 41 minutes and have a response and not share it. Because what you're going to be doing then is you're going to be pulling yourself down instead of exploding and letting yourself come forth. And don't do that, because you're going to feel like shit if you do it. I'm telling you. Okay? So I've warned you. It came with a warning. So don't do it. But nobody can do it for you. You have to do it yourself. But, you know, I'm just trying to save you some suffering. But it's up to you if you want to suffer or not. So there you go. Okay, now you're down to, oh, it's still 41 minutes. Okay. So we're good to go. Okay, so don't remember, we don't have to do the technical thing. You can just raise your hand. Or both hands if you're very enthusiastic.
Rick and Jose.
Jose, you have something you want to say? Oh,
Yeah.
2 hands, good.
Hello. It's my name is
Oops, we
Jose.
can't hear you. Hang on a sec.
Oh, you've got your...
Oh, hang on.
You can just turn your computer off.
I forgot to put my earphones in. Okay, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Just want to give initiation to this new lesson of expressing love and with no boundaries. Another word for it. I'm very thankful. I just received this seminar in the moment, the notification for the seminar, because I am listed in the email. So I always receive the updates of the Awaken Life project. And I received it just now as I was relaxing in my couch in my house. I didn't know what 8 BPS, British time, meant. Yeah, so I had no idea it was right now. You see, I'm in Dominican Republic at the moment. So, so it's pretty far, it's different time. And I think it was life. So I'm very happy that life brought us together. And I was very happy scrolling to the right and seeing all of these magical beings connect through you. Thank you very much for giving us this beautiful space to connect. I am very thankful, and I hope that everyone someday. That's my dog barking.
Okay, cool. He's responding to, or she?
He.
He, okay. Yeah, it was great. I was noticing you when I was doing the talk. I was noticing your response. You see, and you have no idea when I'm doing a webinar and someone's responding. It's fantastic. You know, can you imagine if everybody's going, you know, and not really giving anything? And so I appreciate your response.
I'm glad. I'll always have a response because I like to talk a lot.
Okay, good. All right, good. Well, anyway, it's nice to meet you, and I'm glad that the email came to you. And you know, we do this every month, so come back.
Okay, was this what I was supposed to say? I am a bit confused. I'm new, so I don't know.
No, you're not supposed to say anything other than just your own response. So you did well.
Great, I'm glad. I hope someone else now expresses joy. Thanks.
Yeah,
to...
you get a high mark for your first webinar.
Thank you. I'll put it mute so I don't interrupt the next lover. The next
Okay.
lover. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Suma had her hand up.
So I just want to introduce 2 lovely friends. This is Susie.
Hi.
Hi,
this is
Susie.
Francois.
And who?
Francois.
Hi, Francois.
And they came last August to look at our property. And we just fell in love with each other, and they've come back to see us. And
Oh, fantastic.
it's just lovely to share this love with them, with you, and the joy that's here. So, yeah.
Great. I'm glad you
Where
could
are
make
you guys? I want to know, where are you guys?
In Portugal.
So
lovely,
what did you
lovely.
So what did you guys think of the talk?
I'm really happy to finally be tuning in. When I met Suma, I had heard about and read about the Awakened Life project on your website. And then it was coincidental that we came to visit her and she said, oh, well, I'm involved in that. And so then she's sent me the links for each of your webinars since then, but I've either been busy or not had internet access. So I'm really happy to finally be able to tune in and start picking up on your message. And it resonates, and I'm really grateful. It's certainly a message that's reaching me through you that I've been contemplating and needing to hear, and I'm happy for the answer. So thank you.
Fantastic. Are you American?
Yeah.
Me too. Nice to meet you.
And that was one of my responses too. I was thinking, well, she has an accent from North America.
Definitely. Yeah, I noticed yours too. So I'm really happy that you came on.
Yeah, I hope it's the first of many.
Okay, well, it's your choice. It's every month, same time, same channel.
All right, all right.
Okay, good. Nice to meet you.
Yes, equally. Thank you.
Okay, Rick, did you have your hand up earlier?
Yes, yes. And it's so funny because, if I feel lit up again. And this is such a amazing thing, a miraculous thing, and a mysterious thing. And every time you speak, I get lit up. And it's not, and I recognize this often in life. And everything you say is just felt so right on. And I don't know what else, what's interesting is I don't even know what I want to say right now, but it's just, you feel this total passion for life, and it just has to come out. And I think one of the really things that struck me is it feels like it has to come out. Like you're saying, there's a demand for it to come out. And if you don't, it feels like an act of violence against this energy that wants to come out almost.
Right.
It's a demanding yes, because if it's a no, there's no middle ground. It's a yes, it seems, or a no.
Right.
And the yes is just to open. It's like, it feels like a dam of energy, and you just open the floodgates, and now this wants to come out, and it just wants to express itself.
Mm-hmm.
And for the only reason to seem like want to discover together what's happening, what's occurring, it's a sharing in our discovery of life. It doesn't feel like any other reason. It's just like consciousness itself. It almost has an instinct. It wants to discover. And
yeah, and it's interesting what you're saying. You say when it has no other reason. You see, the ego gets nothing out of your willingness right now to respond. You see, you're just giving yourself to something, but you're not getting anything from it, because you're just with what you're giving.
Yeah, I'm not even here in a way, in the sense that separate sense isn't here, and there's no care for that. It's like it doesn't even want to go there. It's just something else is more alive. Something else is living, and you want to be.
But what you want to notice, though, Rick, is that you see, you are here. The ego is not in this moment, but you are here, and you are alive, and this is who you always are.
Yes.
You see, we have all these weird ideas of like, oh, if I'm consciousness, I'm going to have to be some weird disembodied something weirdo traveling through space and trying to be a human being at the same time. Forget about it. All you got to do is not know, and then you get to see what this piece of, this modification of consciousness, we get to see, well, what does this modification of me as consciousness look like? Yeah. What does the modification of Rick look like when he's willing to play ball? I'm sounding very American now. See, this is what happens when other Americans. Rick's American too, by the way.
Yeah. Well, the sense is, though, absolutely. It's like wanting to be very authentic to whatever this is, and caring for that. And
okay, I want to stop you though, because is that actually true? You see, when you give yourself to it, all this wanting to be authentic disappears too, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, you're so right. That's gone. Yeah. It's just.
Yeah, you see, and then here we are, just me and you and everybody else on the screen, just being together and not knowing what we're supposed to say, what we're supposed to do, but we're just willing to show up and to participate and let, in a certain way, let God just speak through us.
Yeah. It's an energy, just an energy just wants to share, just wants, whatever it is. And it's a surrender. It's a complete surrender.
Because response is really about giving, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing else.
Right. So sometimes we have this impulse to give, and like you say, you didn't know what to say, or you don't know what to give. You see, and if we just drop this insistence that we need to know, then it's not like sometimes people can get a little silly, and that's okay at the beginning, just like, well, I don't know what to say, and if it's authentic, it's okay. But eventually we actually want to be able to articulate our experience clearly. We want to go deeper in understanding what is going on here. What is this illusion of the separate I? What is consciousness? How does it move? What's going on? What is it? you know, and go into inquiries with each other from this place of not knowing, but wanting to know, this willingness to engage. And so that's also part of the picture. And that has a different feeling quality than just the explosion of like, oh my God, I just love everybody, you know,
Yes.
which is also fine.
Yes, I feel it has different kind of ways expressing itself. And whatever way it's expressing itself, it just, that's the way it's expressing itself. And I can even feel as the conversation gets a little deeper and everything, you know, it's a settling down now, and I feel a deeper listening to a deeper part of ourself and what's being shared. And,
right.
and it's just that kind of flow.
Right. And then you have to look at also, which is, I think, really interesting, because when you say it, because that's usually how we speak about consciousness, or we speak about this thing that wants to come through us. But can you change the it to me? Like, I want to engage. I want to engage through this particular vehicle that I've created, and I want to share all my other vehicles. You change it to I, and you start to take that subtle imposition of separation away. And you don't necessarily speak like that all the time, because you wouldn't be able to function in the world, but it helps you to shift this primary center of gravity that we have from egoic center, you know, being a separate ego, to being consciousness itself. So we can understand all this and still stand very much in the separate I. So the more we give ourselves to the truth that we know through our own experience, that I am that, I am consciousness, that is who I am. And I'm also a modification of myself as consciousness. And so you speak like, yes, I'm Rick and I live here and there, you see, but you don't have to impose any kind of separation between Rick and consciousness. It's all the same thing. Or from Natasha and Rick, all the same thing. It's just one has more hair than the other one. Okay. So this is where it gets really interesting. And this is where we can really help each other, because if we don't impose separation, when we all act out of our own, you know, when we act out of egoic fears and desires, which we all are going to do, you see, then we don't divide and separate, because God forbid somebody has acted out of their ego. We don't do that. We stay together because we recognize there is no separation, and we all have this habit of ego, and we can stay together and we can help each other identify these movements as they're coming through us, and not only identify them, depersonalize them, and actually even be able to understand them, transcend them, and eventually laugh at the whole thing. So wow. This is what it's really about. You see, so what we're talking about, it's something very, very big, very exciting. And what else do we have to do? What else is more important than this? You know, shopping? I don't think so. Sorry, I'm getting a little fired up here, aren't I?
I'm a little fired up to speak.
Okay, Claire. Hi, nice to meet you.
Thanks, nice to meet you. I've heard so many wonderful things about you, and I can see why. So I just loved what you said, because I've had so many impulses in my life. So many, you know, like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. I have like all these responses that don't get carried through. But when it does get carried through, like there's one, you know, we have a meditation group in the mornings, Rick and a whole bunch of others. And one of the mornings I lead it, and I never know what's going to come out. And that's when I feel like I'm really who I'm meant to be. And it's so interesting. So obviously I offered to step forward one day a week. And that's what I need to remember to do, is just offer to follow through on my impulses and not be held back. I can realize how many times I'm held back.
Right.
No,
And isn't it amazing how many impulses you have during one single day? It's like God is just knocking on your head all the time.
Yeah. Well, I
Cool.
recently did speak to a lovely girl down the road who's a senior in high school, and I said I would be happy to come over to give a class or a workshop on stress reduction, you know, how to reduce anxiety and prevent panic, because, you know, they're all worried about their exams and getting into college. And she said, oh, I'll speak to them people, you know, there, but so far nothing's happened. So I need to make the first step. I need to go over to the school and do it myself. You know, I realize I can't give it to someone else to do if I really need it. When am I going to do that? We'll see.
No. See, this is where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah, well, it won't be able to be this week unless it's late tomorrow afternoon. I don't know.
That sounds like a good time.
I'll find out. Yeah, I'm actually free after 2:30 or 3 tomorrow. Good idea. Go for it.
Yeah, you really have to go for it. You know, it's very interesting when I was describing this thing that happened with our community, because I was actually, it's the first time my husband, who usually leads the men's group, and I lead the women's group, and then we lead the Sangha together. But he was in India, so I was leading the men's group for the first time. And so my job was to kind of bring forward to the men that they had this lack of responsiveness. And so it was really cool because they all got fired up at the end. And they said, okay, so everybody's behind doing the Facebook page. And they're like, yes. And I said, by Thursday. And they went, right? Because you can say yes, but then it's like, okay, come on, by when, you know? And I'll tell you, it's like time is a thing that is not on the side of freedom. Because I'll do it tomorrow is the same thing, and tomorrow, it never comes, as we know. So that's why if you really want to empower yourself, then do it tomorrow at 2:30. And send me an email and tell me your experience.
Okay, wow. That's a challenge.
And you can CC Rick and Manon on that also.
Yes. Yes.
You see, but then why not share the love? Why not share the response?
Yeah.
If you respond, you know, spread it.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. But you see, this is what we can give each other, like positive pressure. Right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Okay. Because, you know, and I'll tell you, you have no idea when you do this tomorrow, and when you let us know, you have no idea how it's going to make everybody's day. You know, it's quite amazing. Sometimes this, you know, what I'm doing with a lot of people, sometimes it's just hard. You know, it's a lot of hard work. And what I notice is, you know, the universe, I might have 3 things that are really hard where I feel like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. And the universe always, or God, or whoever you want to call it, there's always an email from somebody that just responds beautifully about something that's happened for them. And it always reminds me of like, all right, this is what it's about. And that's what we can give each other. So that's true. We're going to take the heat off Claire, and we're going to make that into an everybody kind of thing. But the heat's still on, Claire. It hasn't gone anywhere.
I got it. I want it, actually. I want that heat.
No, I could feel that. I could feel that. It's cool. I'm very happy to meet you.
Thank you. Me too.
I'm just noticing there's another Cynthia Bampton on the screen. I wonder who that is. I'm multiplying. Who are you? Guess they're not going to say. Okay. Bye, Pegs. I think Pegs just left a note that said she had to go. Nice to see you. Okay. Anybody else want to respond? Paul. Oh, and Anne. Anne, you're after that. Oh, who's that? Pete Bampton. Oh, he's me. Okay, well, you got to wait, Pete, because Paul's first, and then Anne, and then you.
Yeah.
Those glasses look really weird, I have to tell you.
Okay.
Okay. So, Paul.
Yeah, I thought that Suma's initiative was so sweet to present her friends. So I also wanted to give my neighbor yours, who I know that last time we were together on the webinar, he was very much on fire after having heard you speak. So
for sure, yeah, that's true, Paul. Yeah.
It's funny because when you came on, Jos, I was saying to Laura, I go, oh, it's Paul's neighbor again. Fantastic.
It's good. You recognize me. Thank you. Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank
So
you.
how did you find that? How did you find the talk today?
Yeah, it hit me when you say that speaker just for myself is we are running a quinta. I'm always holding back. I want to share the quinta, but I don't send messages out because there's something in myself. It says everything first has to be perfect before I share it. So that's my, that's my ego part. So, and that's what I really notice in myself. When I feel my heart, then it's enlightening, and I really want to give it to everyone. And that's I want to speak and send it out. Perfect, not then it's perfect. And that's where I see where I'm holding my back by the ego part and not sharing it. And I want to share it. Then I light up, and then my heart is lighting up. So that's really what I recognize. And thank you for this is a good moment that I face this, and I'm going to share.
Who is it that you want to share with? Anybody in particular?
No, in general, friends and so on, just to send out the newsletter and so on. That hey guys, the quinta, it's now open for people. Come, it's a nice place to be, and so on and so on. Because that's what I want. That's what my heart wants. Just sharing
Great. That. Okay, can you put me on the invitation list on the email?
I will do so for sure.
Tomorrow. Thank you. Okay, good. Tomorrow, good.
Tomorrow, yes, for sure.
A lot's going to happen tomorrow with you and Claire.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah. Very nice to hear from you. Cool. Okay, Anne.
Yes, I just want to take the chance to show up, and yeah, I'm impressed by you. Lit me up again with the meditation. It was so easy to drop everything, and yeah, the conversation afterwards. I just want to show me. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. So Anne was one of those people who had a little resistance to sharing, and she was also one of the people who kind of exploded all over the place when she did it. Yeah. Isn't that right?
Yes, it is right. The resistance was very big. I was fighting very hard, and but I needed to be pushed by all the love posts on the Sangha page. I guess that really helped me to open my heart and to really to open up. But it's coming back a little bit. That's why I took the chance to speak now. Because I sent it a video too, but it was cut off in the middle, something like this. And I said, okay, I do the next video tomorrow, and I never did it. So I thought, okay, this is my chance now to speak up and to say how great it is just to open up, just to speak and to respond, and that's so important. That's so. Yeah, heart opening and sets so much energy free. It's unbelievable.
Right.
I'm very grateful for your great teachings. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you also, I think, you recognized when you opened up and you shared your heart, how many people responded to you and how many hearts did you open up through your response? Quite a few, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You see, so look at the power that we have. And when we don't respond, you see, look at what we're wasting. So you know that in your own experience, so you can't give yourself any space to hold back.
Right.
There's no space. There's tons of room for fear, but there's no room for hesitation. You can have as much fear as you want, but you can't hesitate. You see? So anyway, it's really good. So I'm looking forward to that video.
Yeah, I know. I know you would say that.
Well, you know, we kind of got a theme going on now with Claire and with Paul's neighbor. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So tomorrow seems to be a good day to do that, or today, but it's going to be late by the time you get off this call. So, so tomorrow, man, there's going to be an explosion. We got one going on in Portugal, we got one in Germany, and then we have one in the States. Whoa, we're going to take over the world if we don't watch out. Okay, Mr. Cynthia Bampton. Pete, that's you. Where did he go? Oh. Pete, are you coming? Oh, there you are. Hello.
Oh, no, I don't have a question. I don't have a question.
No. Really? Okay.
What are you asking me?
Well, because you came on and raised your hand, so we thought you wanted to talk.
No, it was because you were asking who it was. Who was Cynthia Bampton.
Oh, okay.
So
Do you have anything you want? Do you have anything you want to say about the?
I think this is a totally fantastic webinar. Great to see you so on fire. And also,
nice of you to get on.
Looks like some other people are catching fire here, so great to see.
Cool. All right. Anybody else? We don't want to. Oh, Jim, and then Fiona after Jim.
Yes, I would certainly be one of those people that caught on fire and really appreciated what you're pointing to, and it really does. One of the things that comes forward for me is really how much it speaks to the heart, because that's where it resonates for me. And everything you're saying was just like right from the beginning was just like an opening up and letting go. And I'm also noticing the tendency and how easy it is to close that down, and the choice for suffering can be there. And it's one of those things that you can see. It's I can actually see the fact that I can choose to suffer, and I can I can choose to withdraw. And the fear can be there. Sometimes it feels like the fear that's stopping me. And I like what you said about embrace the fear, allow the fear to be there, and have courage. So yeah, just very much appreciating what's being pointed to. And I'm another states person. I'm in San Diego. I'm on a meditation with Rick and Claire. And I've been I retired recently, so I've been opening myself up to different groups. And I think there's about 6 different groups now that I associate with and meditate and talk. So it's just, and there doesn't seem to be any end for me personally. I'm feeling that sense of resistance and fear. And so I think the shift for me is not having that be a stop, and actually to embrace it. And someone had mentioned in one of these calls about allowing your emotions, rather than to be a stop, to be a teacher, so that when you see them, you go, I notice. And actually, it's an opportunity to embrace, and I suspect to be there's something about just noticing and embracing it. It seems to be in the lines of what you're speaking and what you're pointing to. And I like what you brought in the last webinar about opening your hands up. That movement of embracing and opening the heart up I found to be very powerful. It's almost like a sense of praying for things to be the way they are, or wishing for things to be the way they are. So yeah, so it was really a strong message and a strong pull, and always deeply in deep gratitude when I have an opportunity to sit with you. So thank you.
Yeah, it's very nice to hear from you.
Thank you.
You know, maybe we'll do the hand thing at the end of this webinar too, because it very much fits with the theme. One thing I just wanted to say to you though is, you remember when I was speaking earlier, and maybe it was even during the meditation, when you can recognize that everything is a modification of consciousness. So whether it's something that you like or something you dislike, something that feels good or something that doesn't feel good. So that would mean that happiness is a modification of consciousness, but that also means fear is a modification of consciousness. So if that's the case, then you could recognize, as you're saying, that fear is a teacher, but you have to be interested in seeing that fear is actually a wake-up call. It's to wake up to what is, but you will have to be willing to let that fear burn. Because when we let go of fear, you see, what we're letting go of is we're letting go of excuses. You see, and then you're in trouble, because then the separate I has to disappear. And if you continue to open up to that, the fire, or the fire of your heart, or the mystery itself, it starts to take over, because you're not resisting it anymore. And like a couple people have said, you as a separate self will disappear in that moment that you allow that. And if you continue to do that, you see, there is no Jim as being a separate I, but there's Jim. The modification of consciousness named Jim is fully available and willing to give voice to the deepest dimension of who we all are. And so I just wanted to say that about fear, because it's so important that we don't label this as being a modification of consciousness and this is not. We have a tendency to think, oh, love, it's all God. Oh, fear and suffering, that's not God. Right. Like, what do we think it is, So I just wanted to mention that.
Yes, thank you. I agree. I'm on board with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that before.
Thank you.
Okay, Fiona, where did Fiona go? Oh, there she is. Hello.
Hi. I
Hi.
really loved, Cynthia, when you said freedom has no past, so there's nothing that's getting in your way. And it really hit me, and it really resonated with me. And then what it brought back to me was when I first came to the Awaken Life project, I had a really bad back that I'd had for 3 years. And then in one of the retreats with you and Peter, I saw through that, the past is just a story that I'm telling myself in my head. And then the next day I woke up and I was pain-free with my back, and I don't have problems with my back anymore. So I think that's amazing. So I'm going to put that on my website and tag your name on it.
Okay, I get to be quoted. Thank you.
There you go.
That's cool. You see, you never know what's going to happen,
Great, Fiona. Congratulations. I love hearing that. I'm glad that your back is healed now.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very cool. Okay. Anybody else want to share? Remember, you don't want to. Oh, hello. I'm going to Anna. What would you like to say? Nice to see you.
Hi.
Hi.
This is my first time on the webinar. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't.
Oops. I'm having a little problem with the audio. I can't really hear you. It's kind of making a noise when you turn your...
I don't know.
Oh, that's better.
Okay. I didn't do anything, but okay.
Do you have earphones in, or do you have a microphone on your...
Should I put earphones?
No, it's just whenever you're moving, all of a sudden we lose the audio. So just get to a place where we can hear you, and then don't move. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, don't move.
Okay. So I was saying it was a very pleasant surprise.
We can't hear again. We can't hear again.
I don't know what to do.
Do you want to type it? Do you want to type what you want to say, and then we can read it?
Okay.
Okay, good. Hey, I'm really happy. I don't know how you found out about us, but it's nice that this is your first time and you found us. So that's fantastic. We'll be able to find out how fast she types now.
I think if you just come closer to the
Oh,
microphone.
you found out
and
from
you-
Natasha. So
Really
Natasha,
loud.
okay, try that.
I don't know.
No. Okay, so you know what this means, Anna, is that it means you're going to have to come back next time when the microphone's working.
Yes. Okay. No, no.
You know, we can't really hear you, but I have to say that your smile is actually saying quite a lot. So, yeah. So anyway, yeah. Who's that?
Hi, it's me, Sandra.
Oh, hi, Sandra. Oh, hello.
We had a little thing. I have been trying to come in for some time now, and now we tried with the flashlight. But I figured out I just need to unmute and speak, and then maybe it works.
Okay.
Cool. No, I just wanted to share that I'm also very, very inspired by that whole subject and talk. And I think there were two things. Like one, I think it was with Claire, right? When you were sort of not leaving it vague with her, but it was, okay, when do you respond? When do you do it? And in that moment, I could just see what an effect it not only has on her when she would respond, but also on all the pupils basically that might get rid of their anxiety for exams, and then maybe how they will respond differently, and then what effect this has. And it became so clear and so vivid in my mind, and I can also just see it in the group of people that we are here. I think we are all quite lit up by your talk.
Yes.
And yes, it's and there is really it brought it so immediate what it means to respond. And I could also, when you talked at the beginning, what stood out for me was that we always have a response. And what really has been very important for me is that if my only response in a way is to the big yes, to yes in life and to say yes, everything follows from there. So it's actually quite easy. And I just find it very beautiful. All I need to do is I look at the yes, and it's getting, the more I have I open my heart and I have my focus and my attention. This is what I want. I want to respond to yes. Life becomes very simple. It becomes very easy. I don't really need to figure much out, but it's really a joy. And for me, this talk tonight really is a representation of that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really simple, so what Sandra's expressing is, the impulses are there. We don't have to create the impulse for the yes. The impulse is there. We just have to say yes to the yes that's already there, that is already in us. They're already arising. Everybody knows that in themselves. So it would be really hard if we had to actually create the impulse to say yes. We don't have to create that. It's already arising out of, our deepest nature. Then we just have to get this body, this modification of that one consciousness in line with itself so that there's an expression in time and space of that one. And see, that's what we can all do. And then I liked what Sandra was saying about, Claire speaks to these students, and the students, something changes in them. They go home, something, their parents see something different. They're like, what in the heck happened? And then all of a sudden, you don't know what's going to happen with all those people and how they're going to respond to the people that they meet. Because the way this really works, it's very scientific. If we're coming from egoic tendencies, what we're doing is we're inviting other people to come from their egoic tendencies. We're saying, here I am, an egoic habit, please join me with your egoic habit. If we actually come with our true selves, what we're doing is we're inviting everyone else to come forward with their true self. we're bringing our heart out, we're putting our heart out, and then other people come and they're willing to put their hearts out because they recognize that's me, I want to come out also. So you see, it's so important. This is how we're going to change the world. It's going to come through everyone's own action of being willing to just be themselves, be consciousness, not be an egoic persona that has nothing to do with care or with love. So this is what's so important. We want to spread the ripple, you know, of response, if we want to bring it back to the theme. And we can only do that through ourselves. Claire, yeah?
I just wanted to say that, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, good. That I actually once made a YouTube on this subject, My Secret to Reducing Anxiety and Preventing Panic. It was somebody was trying to create a movie messenger project, and in order to be considered, you had to make a YouTube. So I did. And if anybody wants to look it up under my name, Claire Rosenfield, it's how I actually cleared myself of possible panic when I got crashed into on a ski slope. So it's very practical. And what happens is just absolutely amazing. And I really want to share that with these children.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah, it's a YouTube.
Do you want to, do you just want to put it in the comment?
No, I don't even see where the comment place is. I could barely find my way to get my video on. So
okay, Rick, you know where the comment is, right? Can you just write Claire's name and spell it correctly so everybody can see it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
C-L-A-R-E.
Oh, yeah, you can see on the screen.
Yeah, on my screen, right.
Okay.
Yeah, My Secret to Reducing Anxiety and Preventing Panic. And a second one I did is called Trusting That Love is at the Heart of Reality, Even Beyond Death.
Wow,
so
that's a great title.
Yeah.
Well, you know, talking to these kids should be nothing after what you've already done.
You know, as I get older, I get less courageous somehow. I was like out there much more when I was younger. Now I'm like an old lady. No, I really don't. I don't feel like that.
Yeah, you don't sound like that either. But I understand that.
Somehow I got to get up and go.
No, you know what it is though, is if you just respond to the impulse that's already there, all the energy and all the courage that you need is already there.
Right.
And that's true for everybody. You don't have to wait for courage. You just line up with the yes, and the courage is already there. So you don't have to create courage. Okay, I'm very good about staying on time, and we're going a couple minutes over. So I'd really want to encourage everyone to share this webinar with people. I canceled it last month because I didn't have enough people signed up. And I love doing these, and I love spending time with all of you, and I feel very inspired to keep these things going. But, you know, if it's just me and Laura showing up, it's not quite the same. So please spread the word, and yeah, and let's just see each other every month. And that would be great, because I really, really enjoy everyone's enthusiasm and input. And it's just beautiful spending this hour and a half with you. So thank you very much.
Anna has typed in the comments.
Oh, okay. Hang on a sec, Jose. We got Anna had typed something. So does everybody can read that, right? Do you want to read it, Laura?
Yeah. Anna writes, I just wanted to say that the subject was a very pleasant surprise, because I had in my mind various conversations that I have with people. I was reminded of conversations through text that I haven't responded to yet, and also being reminded of another conversation where the person is not actively responding to me, and that was making me lose my inner child and killing my will to open up, because that person wasn't opening up to me. I think that today, through message, we experience what you talk about, but amplified.
Yeah, and
this goes on to say, because now we have the opportunity to read a message and respond later.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, and you know what, Anna, this is really good that you brought this up. You see, because we have to be willing to respond and give our hearts without any expectation from anybody. So giving is not dependent on the response that we're going to get from the other person. And so if we forget about trying to get anything back. And we give for the sake of giving. You see, it's a lot easier to give. Because, you know, chances are you might not get the response that you're hoping for. But that doesn't matter. Because, you know, every time you open up, and maybe the person you're talking to doesn't receive it, but the fact that you did it brings something into consciousness that wasn't there before. And that has an effect on everybody. So fantastic. Okay, so you're going to be answering text messages tomorrow then, right? Okay, cool. All right, so Laura, do you want to say whatever you want to say?
So what I want to say is, so tomorrow I will send everybody an email with the link to this recording, and also the link to the Awaken Life Project events page, because there's lots of really cool events coming up. So if you want to come and be with us or Cynthia in person, there's lots of different opportunities to do that, and also with Pete too. So I will send you that. One event I really want to highlight is the Women's Retreat coming up on the 25th to the 30th of May. This retreat is just awesome. I mean, really life-changing. We had one 2 years ago, and yeah, I can still remember it like it was yesterday. So for the women, obviously, that's available. For the men, tell the women you know. And for the men, there's a men's retreat, and I will send you details about that. And just also to say that Cynthia does these webinars by donation, and I'll send you details of how to donate if you feel moved to. And other than that, I think that's everything.
Okay, so I guess that's it. We're going to say goodnight, and very nice to spend time with all of you. Oh, thank you, Rick and Jim. Okay, this is something we've done in the retreat, New Year's retreat that I did, and I've done it on a few webinars. So this is a very beautiful way to physically express your willingness to be available. So the way it works is you put your hands up, and basically you say to yourself, you say out loud, I'm available. You bring your hands to your chest, your heart, and you say, I'm available. You bring your hands together, and you put your head down, and you say, I'm available. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Why don't you turn on your mic? We'll unmute, and everyone can talk to everybody else.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia and everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, nice to see you, Katrin.
Nice to see everybody.
Okay, so we're the hosts, so we're not going to turn everybody off, so we just wait for people to disappear. Otherwise, it tends to be a bit rude if we all just blow up at the same time.